The story of Lulu the pig and Baby the cow begins in a quiet corner of Massachusetts, on the hallowed grounds of the Don't Forget Us, Pet Us Animal Sanctuary. It is here, away from the chaos of the world, that two souls, seemingly destined for nothing more than a life of fear and function, found a companionship that defied the very laws of their species. A bond was forged not on common ground, but in the crucible of mutual vulnerability, creating a single, inseparable unit. We are invited to witness this perfect convergence of two different hearts. This is not a tale of training or intervention. It is the story of pure, spontaneous compassion. If you're already enjoying this story, a quick like and share makes all the difference. Let us know in the comments where you're listening from today. The Sanctuary, run by Deborah Devlin, stands as a testament to the belief that every life holds intrinsic value. It is a haven carved out of necessity for animals with nowhere else to go. Among these residents was Baby, a cow whose life began with a devastating affliction. Born with limited sight that quickly deteriorated, Baby's world faded into a perpetual, suffocating twilight. By the time she arrived at the sanctuary in Dartmouth, the loss was absolute. Blindness in an animal whose entire survival instinct relies on vast sensory input is a profound trauma. For a cow, a herd animal designed to navigate wide-open pastures, losing sight means losing her anchor to reality, losing her security. Baby's early months were defined by a crippling anxiety. She would stand still for hours, unable to trust the ground beneath her or the space around her, terrified of taking the next step. She spent most of her time near the fence line, a tangible boundary that offered a small, desperate sense of safety. The auditory world became everything to her, a constant shifting map she could never quite reconcile. Every unfamiliar sound was a potential threat, and every slight shift in the air felt like a massive disruption. The other cattle, operating in their own visually guided reality, could not understand her stasis, her fear. They would often walk past, their massive bodies brushing against her, sending her spiraling into a panic that left her shaking. The greatest threat to a blind animal is not the physical danger of collision, but the profound, isolating loneliness. Baby was functionally separated from the entire cow community. She was in a crowd, yet utterly alone. This deep, visceral need for a companion, for an ally who could navigate the darkness with her, was the empty space that the small, unexpected pig was about to fill. The missing piece arrived in the form of Lulu, a small pig with a big heart and an even bigger personality. She was brought to the Dartmouth Sanctuary after being discovered alone, another creature in desperate need of a safe harbor. Lulu was placed into an enclosure that bordered Baby's. The separation was intentional at first, a cautious introduction across a barrier, giving the animals time to adjust to each other's unique presence. But the separation did not last long. The cow and the pig, both outsiders in their own way, felt the pull of proximity. Lulu, being the more audacious and curious of the pair, was the one who initiated the transgression. She squeezed her small, stocky body through the gap beneath the fence, disregarding the rules of boundaries and species. She entered the dark, quiet world of Baby's pen, not with confidence, but with a cautious, empathetic inquiry. What happened next was not an explosion of immediate affection, but a slow, careful acknowledgement. Baby, paralyzed by her blindness, could only rely on her other senses. She smelled the strong, earthy scent of the pig. She heard the soft rooting and snuffling in the straw nearby. And she felt the steady, non-threatening presence of a creature who did not walk away. It was a moment of profound recognition, an end to the isolation that had defined her existence. Lulu's initial venture into Baby's pen quickly evolved into a dedicated routine. The small pig was operating on an instinct that transcended species, a simple, pure response to suffering. She seemed to understand the cow's vulnerability, recognizing the need for an anchor. This was the formation of the unspoken contract that would define their lives for the next 8 years. Lulu became Baby's eyes. It was a partnership based entirely on trust and sound. The pig's soft, repetitive snuffling sounds became a constant, gentle radar. When Lulu moved, Baby would listen, adjusting her slow, tentative steps to match the pig's movement. The world of grass, water, and sun, which had been frighteningly inaccessible, was now open to her, guided by a creature no bigger than her own head. Lulu never left her side. The bond was tangible, visible to everyone at the sanctuary. When they were out in the pasture, Baby the cow would keep her massive head angled slightly down, her nose almost touching Lulu's back or side. Lulu would walk in a deliberate, measured pace, gently nudging the cow back onto the path if she began to veer toward an obstruction. The pig's navigation was flawless, leading Baby to the fresh feeding trough, the water bucket, and the sunniest spot for a nap. They developed a shared sense of space that was almost psychic. They would often stop simultaneously, resting hip to hip, a testament to their synchronized existence. Even when the sanctuary staff separated them briefly to clean their stalls, Baby would become immediately agitated, her distressed mooing only ceasing when she heard Lulu's familiar, comforting presence being returned. Perhaps the most profound sign of their unity was their shared shelter. Though each had a separate shed, they chose to share one. Lulu, the pig, would root out a comfortable spot in the straw, and Baby, the cow, would settle down right beside her, their bodies creating a single, warm mass. It was an image that encapsulated the therapeutic power of their interspecies parenting, the small guiding the large, the protector finding solace in the protected. They were two different creatures, living as one life. The physical world had rendered one of them helpless. The other had simply chosen to be the bridge. The true depth of the bond between Lulu and Baby was proven not in the ease of their shared existence, but in the challenges and shifts that the years brought. Life in the sanctuary, though safe, is not without its anxieties. There were days when the weather turned severe, driving rain or heavy snowfall that muffled the world and threatened to disorient the blind cow. During these times, Lulu's dedication intensified. The pig became a constant moving lighthouse. Staff noticed that on mornings following a heavy storm, where the fields were muddy and treacherous, Lulu would wait patiently until Baby was awake. The pig would then set a path, rooting aggressively into the mud ahead of her, not just to move, but to create a firmer, more tactile trail for the cow's massive hooves to follow. This was a demonstration of a highly developed, species-defying care, a form of engineered environmental assistance that showed remarkable cognitive empathy. Their relationship was documented by behavioral scientists and sanctuary workers alike. The question was always, why? Why did this pig, an animal known for its intelligence, but not typically for such sustained selflessness toward a different species, take on this monumental task? The consensus pointed not to a reward-based system, but to an emotional one. Lulu seemed to derive profound purpose from her role as guide. Baby's comfort was Lulu's primary directive. There were moments of genuine conflict, too. When a new animal would be introduced into their pasture, Lulu would often position herself protectively between the cow and the newcomer. The small pig would stand her ground, issuing sharp territorial snorts until the threat, real or perceived, had passed. This was the proving ground of their loyalty. It wasn't just companionship. It was fierce, enduring, and non-negotiable protection. 8 years passed in this manner, each sunrise reaffirming their extraordinary intertwined existence. They were a perfect symbiotic anomaly, an island of two in a field of many. The sanctuary knew that nothing lasts forever, but the deep dependence between Lulu and Baby made that truth exceptionally hard to bear. After 8 years of unwavering devotion, the end of the unspoken contract arrived. On a Sunday, Lulu, the dedicated guide, passed away peacefully. The silence in the pen that morning was immediate and profound. The gentle snuffling and rooting sounds that had been Baby's constant comforting assurance were gone. The loss was not just emotional. For Baby, it was the abrupt loss of her navigational system, the sudden erasure of her world map. The sanctuary staff described her behavior immediately afterward with heartbreaking clarity. Baby the cow began to moo, not with her usual gentle calls, but with a deep, mournful distress that echoed across the fields. She stood motionless for a long period, waiting for the familiar nudge, the comforting scent, the sound that never came. She moved in halting, confused circles, bumping into the fence, her head raised in palpable fear, desperate to locate the presence that had been her entire horizon. The shift was devastating. The animal that had learned to move with quiet, guided confidence was instantly plunged back into the terror of total darkness and isolation. She refused to move from the spot where she had last felt Lulu's warmth, standing vigil over a loss she could not see, but felt with every fiber of her being. The sheer scale of her grief, the loss of her physical eyes, and her emotional anchor was a testament to the magnitude of the bond. It was a moment that redefined mourning. The large, helpless body of the cow utterly broken by the absence of the small, compassionate pig. The story of Lulu and Baby is not just a documented case of interspecies companionship. It is a profound meditation on the essence of selflessness. It challenges the rigid boundaries we often impose on nature, reminding us that compassion is not a species-specific trait. Lulu the pig was not performing a trained behavior. She was simply responding to need. Her 8 years of guidance provided a therapeutic balm for the blind cow, affirming that even in the deepest darkness, a pathway can be found through the dedication of another. The narrative of the pig and the cow offers a truth we often overlook, that connection, loyalty, and empathy are foundational languages of the living world. The grief that followed Lulu's passing was a testament to the fact that their relationship was defined by a love that was pure, reciprocal, and utterly indispensable. This deep, simple story of a guide and her blind friend is an affirmation of the profound potential for unconditional love that exists beyond the frame of the human world. The sanctuary eventually introduced a new calf to Baby, offering her a chance for a new companion, a return to the comfort of shared presence. But the space left by Lulu, the small pig who dedicated her life to being a massive cow's eyes, remains a powerful, eternal lesson. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this story moved you, please consider liking and subscribing. It truly helps us bring more stories like this to light. We have a question for you. What was the single moment in this story that resonated with you the most? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one.